How much longer are we going to do this? Like, for real. How much longer until you just realize that then you can't be nice?
I mean, I realize that
I want a number. How much longer?
I'm thinking like 6 weeks. I'm going to give it 6 weeks because if this thing is happening with this potential buyer, if it's not in contract in 6 weeks.
And you stick your attorney on him.
Yep. Yeah.
It's time for you to end the nice girl era. Like, it's not benefiting you. It's only benefiting him.
Hi, besties. Welcome back to my channel. So, let's talk about Meri Brown. She's about to get a few much-needed lessons from her bestie, Jen, on how not to be nice to Kody anymore. But before we jump into that clip, I need to clear something up. Lately, there's been an AI-generated Sister Wives channel that posted a video about Meri Brown, and it's gone viral with almost 500,000 views. The problem? It's completely fake. Every bit of it. The channel has maybe 10,000 subscribers and uses AI-created voices and visuals, claiming that Meri actually won some big court case against Kody. Here's the truth. There was no court case. Nothing like that ever happened. There were no filings, no testimony, no trial, and absolutely no legal battle over Coyote Pass. It simply didn't exist. But people keep messaging and commenting, asking me about the story, and honestly, I don't even know what to tell them anymore other than this. If you see channels called things like Sister Wives TV or Sister Wives News, with thumbnails that look like cartoon versions of the cast and bold claims like they went to court and won, or they lost everything, please know, those videos are made up. Another one of those same AI channels even claimed that Robin and Kody had hired a nanny who made $80,000 a year, which is completely untrue. And there's yet another saying Kody owed over $100,000 in child support, supposedly based on Christine's words. That's also false. It was never mentioned in Christine's book, and there's zero evidence of it. So, when you come across these newer channels making wild claims, just be cautious. They're not reporting facts, they're creating fiction for clicks. Again, there was no court case involving Meri and Janelle over Coyote Pass, period. Now back to the real story, this week's episode. Jen decides to give Meri a little crash course on how to be more direct and confident when it comes to standing up to Kody. And it's actually kind of refreshing to watch. The thing is, Meri isn't weak. She's strong and assertive in other areas of her life. But whenever Kody enters the picture, it's like she suddenly forgets how to set boundaries. And honestly, that probably comes from years of cultural conditioning, where women are taught to always give men what they want, stay quiet, and never push back. During one scene, Jen gives Meri some solid advice while they're talking about a potential buyer. Jen says, if this buyer doesn't sign the contract within 6 weeks, get your attorney involved. And Meri agrees. Then Jen tells her, it's time to end your nice girl era. Being nice isn't helping you, it's only helping him. And Meri, with this half-nervous laugh, admits, yeah, it is. Jen presses again. Then why keep doing it? You're just hurting yourself at this point. Meri sighs and says, because I don't want to be mean. Jen smirks and says, you know what? Join me on the dark side. Honestly, I can't help but feel for Meri. She's endured Kody's temper, manipulation, and emotional distance for years. He's publicly humiliated her and made her the scapegoat within their family. He painted her as a problem, so the rest of them wouldn't turn on him. In that family's culture, it's almost forbidden to criticize the man. The women can't get mad at him, so they turn on each other instead. The husband never takes responsibility because, within that structure, he's seen as the priesthood authority. So when one wife steps out of line or disagrees, she becomes the rebellious one, the scapegoat. That's exactly what happened to Meri. She was isolated from the others, gossiped about, and blamed for everything. Sure, she's not perfect, she can be tough sometimes, but she's had to survive years of Kody's moods and control. So at this point, she probably just avoids conflict because she's emotionally exhausted. And there's another reason she might hold back. Whenever one of the wives actually stands up to Kody, he retaliates with silence. Remember when Janelle confronted him? She finally got angry, raised her voice, and told him off. What did he do? He stormed out and didn't speak to her for months. I think it was around 3 months, actually. So maybe Meri's afraid that if she finally pushes back, Kody will freeze her out completely. And after everything she's already lost, maybe that's something she just doesn't want to face again. I think deep down, Meri might still fear that if she really stands up to Kody, he'll completely shut her out, because that's exactly what he's done in the past. But things take a surprisingly funny turn when Jen steps in to give her a bit of a lesson. Jen tells her it's time to practice saying what's been bottled up for too long. The thoughts that cross your mind but you immediately suppress, thinking, I shouldn't say that. But Jen insists, no, you should say it. It's time. Then she walks Meri through it. Repeat after me, you do not control me. Meri hesitates at first but softly repeats, you do not control me. Jen encourages, say it again but mean it this time. Meri straightens up, smiles, and says louder, you don't control me. Jen lights up. Ooh, I like that one. For the first time, Meri seems to feel a bit of power returning to her voice. When I look back on Meri and Kody's breakup, I remember expecting her to finally explode, to call him out, to raise her voice, to say all the things she never dared to before. But she never did. She stayed calm, quiet, and heartbreakingly composed the entire time. Even in that infamous scene at the picnic table, while Robin was breaking down and gasping for air, Meri just sat there, collected, expressionless. Maybe it's because by that point, she had already been emotionally exhausted for years. Still, part of me wanted to see her finally snap, not out of anger, but for her own closure. To finally tell Kody off after everything he put her through, the cruel words, the humiliation, the rejection. If anyone deserves to speak her truth and fight back, it's Meri. For years she was mocked, blamed, and disrespected, all while still clinging to the idea that maybe, somehow, Kody would go back to being the man she once loved. She kept holding on to hope, that tiny spark that said, he'll change. He'll be the man I remember. That's what happens in toxic relationships. You hang on to memories of who they used to be, praying they'll turn into that person again. And Kody knew exactly how to keep her hooked. Every once in a while, he'd throw her emotional breadcrumbs. A little kindness here, a sweet comment there, just enough to make her think things might get better. That's what love bombing does. It keeps you chasing a version of someone who no longer exists. That's why I think Meri never truly let herself go off on him. She was still clinging to that false hope. But oh, how satisfying it would have been to see her finally stand tall and tell him off. Even just once. Don't you think so too? Jen, of course, keeps it lighthearted and funny as she keeps coaching Meri. Come on, say it. Get your act together. Meri laughs and repeats, get your act together. Jen grins. Yes. That's it. And now, comb your hair, Kody. Meri bursts out laughing. Comb your hair, Kody. Jen teases. That one came from your soul. I'm proud of you. Meri giggles. Where's my money? Jen laughs. There you go. That's the energy. But then Meri pauses and admits, okay, that actually gave me a little anxiety saying it. It's funny and real. You can tell how uncomfortable she still feels standing up for herself after years of keeping quiet. Now, let's talk about Kody's hair for a second, because come on, who hasn't rolled their eyes every time the wives complimented it on the show? Be honest. How many of you laughed or groaned whenever someone called his hair amazing? Not once, in all these years of Sister Wives, have I ever looked at Kody's hair and thought, yeah, that looks good. Never. Remember his old shaggy, flat hair? That was not it. Then there was that awkward Keith Urban phase, an absolute disaster. And after Robin convinced him to embrace his curls and start using a curling iron and styling products, it somehow got worse. He's been stuck in this over-gelled, over-crunched, permanent curl face ever since, and it's not flattering. Meanwhile, that hairline keeps moving farther and farther back. He's got these few stubborn strands up top, a U-shaped bald patch forming on the sides, and from above, you can practically see the map of a receding island. It's gotten to the point where someone in his life should kindly pull him aside and say, Kody, buddy, it's time to let it go. Right now, he looks like that guy who just can't accept that he's going bald, desperately hanging on to a few curls that no longer want to be there. And honestly, if Meri ever decided to deliver her big tell-off moment, ending with, and while you're at it, Kody, please fix your hair, it would probably be the most iconic scene Sister Wives has ever had. I honestly can't say I know what it feels like to go bald, I don't. But honestly, Kody would look so much better if he just accepted it and embraced the bald look. I mean, his brother Michael is bald, and so are most of his brothers. They've all come to terms with it. They shave their heads, move on, and still look perfectly fine. But Kody, he just can't handle it. And let's be real, I don't buy for a second that any of his sister wives actually thought his hair looked amazing. They just had to tell him that. You remember how they'd gush about it? Oh, I just love the beachy waves. It's such a surfer look. Like, really? What surfer are they talking about? Because I've never seen a surfer with hair like that. Honestly, it would be incredible if just one of them, Meri, Christine, Janelle, anyone would finally say, Kody, cut your hair. Shave it. Please. That would be the best revenge, especially because Kody is so vain. He genuinely thinks he's this attractive, confident guy who has it all together. Do you remember those early Sister Wives seasons, like way back in season 2 or 3, when they actually dedicated an entire episode to his hair? He went to a hairstylist, and she literally told him that his hair was thinning. This was more than a decade ago. She even suggested he should start thinking about shaving his head. But Kody, of course, refused. He told the cameras, "She says I'm losing my hair. She says I'm going bald." He laughed it off like it wasn't a big deal. Fast forward 14 years later, and here we are, season 20, and he's still hanging on to those 4 lonely hairs at the top of his head like his life depends on them. He's got what I can only describe as a skullet, you know, where the top is nearly gone but there's still a fringe of hair around the sides and back. And he really believes it looks good. I just can't. That's why it would be so satisfying to hear Meri finally tell him to cut it off. Like, can you imagine that moment? Her looking him straight in the eye and saying, "Kody, it's time to let it go, and your hair should be the first thing to go." It would be iconic. This season, actually, it's not even the first time Kody's hair has been roasted. Remember that eggplant painting scene? Meri's friend painted a picture where the rooster had Kody's signature curls, and even the eggplant had his hair. Everyone knew exactly what that meant. It was hilarious and honestly deserved. At this point, Kody's hair has become a meme of its own. It's almost symbolic. The hair represents everything he's clinging to, from his ego to his pride. That's why it would be so satisfying to finally hear Meri throw it in his face, unfiltered and unapologetic. Throughout Sister Wives, we've seen a lot of the women talk about confronting Kody, but very few actually follow through. They have these emotional conversations about what they'll say, how they'll stand up to him, but when it's time to face him, nothing. Except for Janelle. She's really the only one who's gone toe-to-toe with him. Christine never had a big explosive argument with Kody either. When she left, she didn't scream or yell. She just decided she was done. She told him, "You're not coming into my house anymore," and that was it. I actually respect that. She had a child still living at home, and she didn't want to create a toxic example. She wanted to show strength through calmness, even while Kody was raising his voice. But deep down, part of me still wishes they'd all had that one raw, emotional, scream-it-out moment just once. After everything they've been through, they deserve to yell, to cry, to not hold back. That's part of the problem with the culture they were raised in, this deep fear of saying the wrong thing. They're taught to stay composed, to appear gracious and restrained for their Mormon or fundamentalist community. But sometimes, you just wish they'd drop the politeness and let it all out. Can you imagine if they did? If Meri finally said, "Kody, your hair is awful. Get rid of that skullet, you maniac." It would be TV gold. Honestly, it would break the internet. And you know what would make it even better? Bring in Teresa Giudice from Real Housewives to show them how it's done. Teach them how to flip tables, throw some shade, and stand up for themselves. Picture it, the Real Housewives of Sister Wives. Now that's a spin-off I'd actually watch. But credit where it's due, Jen is doing her best. She's been such a great influence on Meri this season, helping her find her confidence again. Watching them together feels refreshing, like Meri finally has someone who helps her see her own worth instead of shrinking back in fear. If Meri could take all that energy, all that humor, and actually say these things to Kody's face, it would be absolutely legendary. We've waited years to see her reclaim her voice, to stop tiptoeing around his ego and just say what we're all thinking. Whether that happens in the next episode, though, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe this is as close as we'll get for now. Some lighthearted practice sessions with Jen, a few brave words, and a lot of hope. But maybe, just maybe, it's leading up to that big moment we've all been waiting for. So what do you think? Will Meri finally tell him off? Is she still too scared of his reaction? Or is she finally ready to break free and speak her truth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about this. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more Sister Wives updates, and hit the bell so you never miss a new episode breakdown. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one, besties.